Welcome to a new video! Today I'm going to share with you my Chaos Lightsworn deck profile. Now this deck has been in the making for a very long time because there are a lot of things I wasn't really sure about it, but I'm finally feeling ready to share my list with you. Now of course it's not 100% perfect and there are of course room for improvements, but this is my 40 cards Chaos Lightsworns that I want to share with you and I think you will enjoy. Of course, if you have any ways to improve the deck and critiques that are, building comments, let me know in the comments down below. But before we jump right into the video itself, I'm going to remind you that if you want to see more videos like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It really helps out. A like will also be appreciated to help the algorithm. And like I said, let me know in the comments what do you think about this list and what you change as well, just in general, what do you think? But without further ado, let's jump right into the list itself. Alright, so starting with the list off, we're going to start with the Chaos part for the deck. We're going to start things with the double copies of Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, the double, of course, of Chaos Creator, the double of Chaos Valkyria, and then one of each of the limited black and white dragon, which are also two of the baby dragons, which I really like. Now, this is basically a very standard Chaos package. Of course, if you have also Armageddon, you could slide that in and play with the ratios around however you see fit. But I felt like this ratio works better for me to just see these enough in my hand, but not way too much, because I felt like there are some people who like to maximize on all of these or they run additional ones. I felt like 8 is just enough for the Chaos monsters because you already have these as bricks, as well as some other cards with bricks, so I wanted to have as minimal amount of bricks as possible. In the case of all of them, these two are basically your Monster Reborn-like effect. This one is from the graveyard. If you banish only 3 lights, you banish 3 lights for your summon, you get the Monster Reborn from the graveyard. This one, you get a Monster Reborn for the banish zone, which is kind of cool, and then you also shuffle 2 monsters back, which is really cool. This also have another 2 effect, which if you banish only darks for his summon, you're able to shuffle a card from your opponent's hand into the deck, and then the other effect is that if you banish a light and dark, you're able to pop 2 cards, but those effects are not going to be used, or the third effect is going to only be used when you're going second. So, kind of nice to keep tab on that effect, but it's not really the most important thing in the world. And in the case of these two, or should I say, the Valkyrias, Valkyrias are really good. You banish a light or a dark for his special summon, and then if this card getting banished, you're getting to send a light or a dark monster from your deck to the graveyard, and then you're able to basically leave it there. It's not able to activate its effect for the turn, but you're still able to send whatever you need for the graveyard. And that is really good, because the cards you're going to send for the graveyard after this is again banished is Archlord Christia, which then you can use these, or your Monster Reborn, to revive it back, and then lock your opponent off of special summoning, without it even need to activate its effect, because, it doesn't prevent you from special summoning it, like something like, Isolde, but it gives you the ability to still send to the graveyard and cannot activate its effect. So that's really good, and that's why I like this card as 2. You want to see this card, you want to have it in the graveyard, and you want to see your Archlord Christia. And then for the last 2 cards, which are those 2 for the Chaos package, these 2 are excellent. You know what they do. They're really good even in Dragon Link, so I don't really think I need to explain those. And that does it for the Chaos. Then for the Lightsworn, this is a little bit of an interesting Lightsworn lineup, but hear me out, I will explain that. We run triple copies of Raiden, triple copies of Wolfie Boy, 1 copy of Lumina, and then also the 1 copy of Raikou Fighter. This is the lineup of Lightsworns that I decided to run. Basically, it's a little bit strange, but I want you to hear me out. So basically, I run a lot more Lightsworns in the beginning, but I realized more and more that they're bricks, a lot of them, or they're not strong enough, or that I want to keep the deck at 40 to essentially get the most consistent play as possible. There's 3 reasons for that, as I mentioned. But mostly the reason that I kind of want to say is that 40 is the most consistent, and that's why I had to trim the Lightsworn engine down. Regardless, it's still a very good engine to play these 8. You can technically also cut these 2, or at least one of these, if you want to, but this is a really solid one. Raiden is obvious. Raiden is able to mill stuff. Wolf, if it's get milled, is a free special summon. Lumina is the one that I actually run because of the Raiden or the Raikou, because of the fact that sometimes I am able to mill Raiden, and then still have charge of the Light Brigade, so I basically instead just add the Lumina to my hand to then get a brick card out of my hand if I have to, as well as just in general getting another monster on board, so that's why Lumina is really good, and it's a good one-off copy. It's also another light, type, which is really good with Curious, and in the case of this one, it's also another dark type for Curious, you need 3 different type of the same attribute for its summon, but also it's a great removal. which is giving you the ability when it's normal special summon, you can banish one Lightsworn monster from your hand or graveyard, and then basically banish one card, which is doesn't target and it does remove, which is really, really powerful. It's still a very, very good effect. I feel like it's like more of like a turn 3 effect, but it's still very, very good depending like on your hand. It's just giving you a main deck out, which is very, very good. So like let's say your opponent trying to go like going your board, you're breaking your board, bring their Dragoon, you have this next turn, you're able to kind of like force their Dragoon negate immediately if they don't want the card to be sent to the graveyard. It's really, really good. I like the one right code. Definitely debatable, and you can cut this out for any other card that you want to. I actually consider to running Succession, which I am considering to running instead, but I still like the one additional name. So that's the reason why I run that. And then for the other last engine before like the other miscellaneous stuff, or should I say the other stuff, let's be honest, we want to run Dangers, which is 1 Nessie, double Mothman, 1 Chupi, 1 Tutu, 2 Chinoko, and 1 Jackalope. This is my Danger package. This is the line I've decided to go with. I felt like 6 names is very, very much enough. These are excellent. These are different light, or should I say different dark types. They're able to get your cards that you don't want out of your hand, and they also get to special summon themselves. The only downside is that if you're going to hit something like Chaos Creator, because Chaos Creator is a card that you want to leave in your hand, the only card that kind of like I don't really have the ability to recover back to my hand, but you have so many cards that you just want to discard that these serve an excellent purpose. Now, of course, the other engine that I tried before was the Rocket engine, but I realized more and more that I prefer these guys. This do what they need to do. They're just giving you the ability to either draw cards, special summon themselves, replace themselves. They're just excellent. I love these guys. And the level 4, the reason why I'm going with Mathman, because Mathman is just another level 4, and it's also the card that also helps you even a brick further, because it's also giving you another discard on top of his own effect. So that's really, really good if you're able, of course, to special summon it. Now, of course, there's also Thunderbird and Bigfoot if you want to run them, but I felt like this is a really, really nice and decent number. Of course, you can run other extender engines, but I feel like the Dangers are, for some reason right now, like, even though they were really broken, where they were like, 3 off of everything, are very underrated right now for some weird reason. I still think they're excellent in decks that need the additional, bodies on board and the discard from hand and don't really care about what they discard. And yeah, Dangers are excellent, and I don't really understand why they fell off so much in decks like this. But that's pretty much does it for that. And then for our other extender related stuff, or should I say related stuff for the plays that we do, we'll run 1 copy of Arsenal Christia because it's part of the lock, the 1 copy of Orochi because Orochi is a good card in general, Photon Thrusher for another Warrior Search, Starlead Seyfried for another way to start our plays, Trick Clown for a mill, and then Zombie, or should I say Plague Spreader Zombie, and then unfortunately I have to also proxy the 2 copies of Malicious, because apparently I sold my Malicious, the Destiny Hero Malicious that I have around the time that the set came out for a very, very high price, because for some reason they were very, very high price then. And I forgot to purchase mine for a long while because I haven't used Malicious for anything. Because I'm not really a hero fan. I do appreciate people who like heroes. I just myself don't like to play heroes. But yeah, that's why I don't really have Malicious in my collection. I don't really find Malicious to be useful for anything for all of my decks, at least at the moment. But regardless, Malicious is excellent, let's be honest. It's a great card. You recycle it 1 or 2 times in a turn, sometimes even 3. You're able to use, for example, Chaos Creator, shuffle 1 of the copies back, then special summon the other one by, whatever circumstance, because the other, you have 1 in the graveyard, 1 of them is banished. You banish, you shuffle the 1 that is banished, and then you're able to use the 1 in the graveyard to special summon the 1 back, which is really cool. Plague Spreader, able to put cards that you don't want to, like a wolf on the top of your deck, and then you're able to mill. And it's also a free body. Trick Clown makes sense. Starlead Seyfried is another way for your baby dragons, as well as recover a Chaos Dragon Legionnaire if you milled it and you need it in your hand. Photon Thrusher is just a free special summon, and Orochi is very, very good. It's another free special summon. Sometimes a little bit of a problem, but I still think the card is pretty good. But that's pretty much does it for the monsters. And now we'll move on into the spells. And for the spells, we run triple copies of Chaos Space, and then triple copies of Charge of the Light Brigade. I think these don't really need any explanation. Chaos Space is just for the Chaos monsters. You can also search Photon Thrusher with this, which is extra hilarious if you need to. But the point is, you search your 8 Chaos monsters, and it's pretty good. And Charge of the Light Brigade, you mill 3, you search Raiden or Lumina, depending on what you milled or have in your graveyard, and it's pretty much starting your plays in another direction. So these cards are excellent. Again, don't really need to explain those. And then for the additional cards, Reinforcement of the Army, Foolish Burial, Monster Reborn, and Imperial Order. These are your last spells, and also the 1-traps that you have. Reinforcement of the Army, I think that makes sense very, very much easily to all of you. You have some warriors, so you can search them, either Raiden or Phantom Thrasher. Foolish is just sending the card that you want to, like a Wolf, like a Valkyria if you have to, like an Archlord Christia. Monster Reborn is Monster Reborn, and Imperial Order, you are either able to, like, draw into it, that's fine, you're able to set it, and then you, like, do your combo in a different way if you draw into it, or you're just Foolish Barreling it with your Curious or something, and then you just, like, bring it back with the Griffin, which we do run a decent, Nightmare package, so this card works very, very nicely in that regard. But that's pretty much does it for the main deck, and apparently I forgot a Monster Reborn on the field. Or should I say, like, on the field spell, on the mat. I don't know why I said field. But the point is like, that is for the main deck. Now we can finally move into the extra deck, and for the extra deck, obviously you've seen I run 1 copy of the Chaos Ruler, 1 copy of Savage, 1 copy of 38, 1 copy of Minerva, and 1 copy of Abyss Dweller for our cards that are not Link monsters, which I want to talk about first. Basically, all of these are excellent. These 3, this Abyss Dweller is like if you have 2 level 4s and you need the deal with the graveyard, you have that. If you need the deal with spells, you have that. This one is, I summon it, but not as much as I thought I will, because of the reason, like, there's not really a whole lot of tuners, so you need to play around with your tuners very, very smartly. Unfortunately, like, I wanted to run a rocket engine or a little bit of a bigger tuner engine, but it sometimes clash with whatever I want to do. So Savage is kind of like an interesting one that sometimes you summon it, sometimes you summon it instead of an Abyss Dweller, sometimes you summon a 38. It's really depend on what you have. So it's like, it's just these 3 are like kind of like your interruptions, depending on the situation. This one, let's be honest, it's one of the most insane cards for this deck support. It's just mill 5, add 1 dark or light to your hand, and everything gets sent to the graveyard. It's insane. It's even better than this, and this card is already like a really good card. So basically, if you don't have a tuner for the, plays of Lightsworn and you have 2 level 4s, if you don't have a tuner, you go into this. If you have a tuner, you go into this. That's literally that simple. So, yeah, that's kind of like how the deck works. Is like, if you have a tuner, sure. If you don't have a tuner, that's also a good option. Not as good as this, but it's still giving you some abilities to do some particular stuff and maybe hit the cards that you want to still go into your plays. So these are really important. And then for your Link monsters, we're going to start things with the generic stuff first, then move on into the other package that we have. So, Striker Dragon, very, very good. I like this card a lot. It's able to basically, just getting your dragons out from your hand, or should I say out from your field, which is actually really important. I like this a lot, even if you don't have the, I forgot the name for it. The Boot Sector Lunch. I don't know why I forgot the name for a second. But even if you don't have the Boot Sector Lunch, it's still an excellent card. Definitely a card that you can cut down if you don't want to. But the ability to get a dragon from your side of the field, like for example, like you're kind of like a little bit on a brick, and the only plays that you have is like the black and white dragon. Having the ability to still have the, like, something like this, or like, just like use them, is very, very important, and this is also another name for things, so it's also another dark if you need to change the light into a dark. It's very, very good. I like this card as a one-off. Definitely you can cut this down if you feel like you want to run something else, but I think the one-off of this is quite fine. Heaven Spheres, this is your ways to deal with normal summons once you have your lock. IP is just a good card just in general. If you, again, kind of like get yourself locked or like you're not able to do a whole lot and you still have like 2 monsters on the field, this is still an interruption by itself with like a unicorn. Dominion, very, very good part of your play. You're able to just like send any card you want from your deck to graveyard and still mill 3. This card is absolutely insane. Most of the time, you're going to send the Imperial Order because you're getting to the either the Valkyrias or milling Valkyrias, and then you're able to banish the Valkyria to special summon, or should I say, like, send to the graveyard the Archlord Christia, so it's not really the end of the world. But yeah, this one is to use for your, what is the name? To Imperial Order, send it to the graveyard. This one, if you need to go into negation lineup that, like, prevent your opponent from Nibiruing you, and then so you just Scoldred is just so you just Scoldred. Again, like I said, this one is a little bit debatable. You could cut this down if you want to, but I just like the 1 copy just to get rid of my dragons sometimes, and then start plays again and, like, getting searches and everything. So, it is what it is for what you want to, but I like these quite a bit. And also that's kind of like worked really well with Heavenly Spheres, so that's why I like that as well. And then for the last 4 Link monsters, we're going with the Nightmares. We'll run one of each of the legal ones. Very important. These 2 are very nice to break boards. Same goes with this one, but this one's kind of like combination with IP more than anything. And then this one is actually the most important one. This one is insane. This one is able to summon, or should I say, like, set from your spell trap from your graveyard back to your side of the field. So you set something like, you know, Imperial Order, and then you set it to your side of the field, and then you got yourself a lock from your opponent from spell and traps. However, I should be mentioned that this is kind of like its aura effect or its ongoing effect, is that if a card, if cards on the, or should I say monsters on the field are not linked, you're not able to activate those monsters' effects. That also includes your opponent. So do keep that in mind when you're summon this, or like in general, when you have like this summoned anywhere. Keep it linking to a link monster, otherwise you're not going to get the first effect at all. I made the mistake a few times before I realized that this is what it does, so just keep that in mind. So like, let's say you have a unicorn in the extra monster zone or something, or like, you know, don't use the 2 monsters to then make this, because the effect will not work off. If you're able to just summon this under the unicorn, for example, and then you get the co-linked, or at least the linked thing, and then it's able to activate the effect. That's kind of like how that works. It's kind of like a little bit of a strange one, but it does need a little bit of explanation. But that's pretty much does it for the extra deck, and does it for the entire deck profile. So yeah, honestly, this deck is really fun. I like to play the 40 card variant, as I said at the start, because I felt it's more consistent. There's really no combos for this deck, because it's a little bit RNG reliant, but it's still really fun. Unfortunately, I don't really have a time right now, at least for this month, to put hand testing for my videos, unfortunately. So unfortunately, it will not be for this deck, even though I want to incorporate that in the future. But yeah, that's pretty much does it for the list. So let me know in the comments down below what do you think about it. And yeah, without out of the way, let's move on into the next deck choices to give you the options for, you know, next deck's choices, I guess. Also, the mat has moved in the middle of the video. Though, let's jump right into that. Alright, so moving on into the next deck choices. So basically, I'm just going to say this right now. Shiranui won last week because it's been a while, as well as like it got the most votes, so I decided to just put this in the deck for next week. I think that makes sense. But for our other options, right now, I'm going to go with things like, you know, the 3 things that I had before, which are Fluffles, Blue Eyes, and I forgot the third one, Time Thief. And then for our 4th option, I'm going to throw in Ultrageist. Now, the reason why I'm going with these decks is because of the fact that I want to go with safe decks that are kind of like, you know, not going to get hit by the ban list pretty soon. Let's be honest, the ban list is kind of like around the corner, so I decided to go with things that are a little bit more safe on that regard. Yes, even Blue Eyes. So I'm going to go with these, unless of course something will change. And these are the four options that you have until the ban list will show up, and you know, other things will change up depending on your opinion options that you choose from. So again, Blue Eyes, Fluffles, Time Thief, and now the added one, Altergeist. Decide from these ones whatever you want to see after Shiranui's, and I will deliver immediately after that. But that's pretty much does it for the video and does it for everything, so hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you do. Remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.